There has never been a better time to be a woman. It was less than 100 years ago when women in the United States gained the right to vote. And now women can even run for president and run for Congress. And they are doing it. And now women can even fight in combat. And there's been so much legislation passed by the United States government to try to close the gender pay gap. And the gender gap in primary education has nearly closed globally. And it's also all thanks to people like Malala who are fighting for all women to get the education that they deserve. And in the United States, 58% bachelor's degrees are earned by women. And we also live in a world where female mortality rates during childbirth have declined sharply. And we also live in a world where there's a strong feminist movement that's working for global gender equality. And there are movements like He for She, started by Emma Watson. There's Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In movement. And there's celebrities like Beyonce, who's already awesome, who are endorsing feminism. But at the same time, we're simply not there yet when it comes to gender equality. A UN report reported that there are alarmingly high levels of violence against women this year. 1 in 3 women globally have experienced domestic violence. And 1 in 4 girls will be married before the age of 18. Every 20 minutes, a woman is raped in India, and usually it's the girl's fault. And in South Sudan, rape is used as a war tactic. And there are 5,000 honor killings every year. What is an honor killing? An honor killing is when a woman's family kills her to restore honor to the family. Perhaps the woman tried to run away or was caught adultering. And there's even more honor-based violence every year. And a woman would be lucky to escape honor-based violence with severe acid burns, like the woman in the picture. This is mainly prominent in India, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, and there's no religion that backs this. And that also goes for female genital mutilation, which is just as nasty as it sounds. 125 million girls worldwide live with mutilated genitals, and there's no religious beliefs that back this up. It's merely a very violent cultural phenomenon that often leads to infections, infertility, childbirth, complications, and even death. And in 2012, the UN passed a resolution banning FGM, but the ban isn't exactly enforced. The ban uses language like we call upon and we urge nations to enforce the ban, but it doesn't guarantee that the ban is being enforced. And over the past 3 decades, 160 million female fetuses and babies have either been aborted or killed in China, India, and other areas of Asia because those cultures prefer boys. And it was less than 3 years ago when Malala, my role model, was shot in the head by the Taliban because she wanted to get an education. And it was only this year when women in Saudi Arabia got the right to vote. And they still can't drive, and they still have to have male guardians to get permission from to travel, conduct official business, or undergo medical procedures. And if you think that women or gender inequality is something that only occurs abroad, think again. This is a New York Times article that I read not too long ago, and it's about sexual assaults on military campuses. This focuses on West Point. And one chant that West Point students had to sing not too long ago was, "I wish that all the ladies were holes in the road and I was a dump truck. I'd fill them with my load." And 2 years ago, a West Point investigation revealed that a cadet on the rugby team had instructed a teammate to get your girl on a leash. This is in the United States. And also in the United States, women still only earn 78 cents for every $1 that a man earns. And gender inequality is also present in small things, like high school. In particular, high school gym. I've noticed that a lot of girls don't feel that they're as strong as boys, so they often don't participate in gym. And here's the classic scenario in gym class volleyball where I swear this would happen every class where the ball would come, right at me, right where I was just about to hit it. But then the boy who's in front of me or near me would end up stepping on my toes because he would end up getting the ball for me, even though it's like right here, almost as if I can't get it myself. And I don't blame him because most girls wouldn't hit the ball. So, as this shows, we're not there yet when it comes to gender equality. Now, why aren't we there yet? Isn't it 2015? We should be there yet. We've already gone so far. Well, gender inequality is an incredibly complex problem with numerous causes. In my talk, I want to only focus on one cause, and it's that women's voices just aren't being heard. And this applies especially in governments, where governments have the power to make change. 21.8% of all parliamentary seats worldwide are held by women. 27.3% of our parliamentary or congressional seats are held by women. And less than 10% of international peace negotiators are women. So why does this matter? This matters a lot. This matters because 50% of the population is being represented in their governments by much smaller percentages. So then women's issues are brushed aside. They're brushed under the carpet and they're marginalized. Governments don't give women's issues the prioritization that they deserve. That's why internationally, for every $1 spent on international development, less than 2 cents is spent on girls. And this is also why in the United States, where we don't have a 50-50 representation of women and men in Congress, this is why acts such as the International Violence Against Women Act didn't pass Congress. The act was supposed to allocate part of the United States' budget to alleviating global gender inequality, but why spend money on that? And there's so many more important issues in the world, and while I will admit that the US probably is facing more problems, gender inequality is an important problem and deserves some sort of prioritization. Because gender inequality is a pandemic, it's everywhere, and it deserves to be treated as such. And in the US, if it's this bad, women's voices are even more silent in countries like Iraq, where there are virtually no women in high-power government positions. This is a quote on Iraq by the U.S. Department of State. The Iraqi government offers no protection services to victims of trafficking, reported no efforts to prevent trafficking in persons, and does not acknowledge trafficking to be a problem in the country. And this is a country where sex trafficking is more prevalent than in most countries. And this is also why international conventions on women's human rights often go unenforced, like the ban on female genital mutilation. So, what can we do about this? What can we do about this marginalization of women's issues? Again, I don't have the solution to gender inequality. If anyone has the solution to gender inequality, I will happily bow down to you. But I only want to focus on 2 solutions that I think will help give women more voice. And the first is that we need more women leaders, especially in governments where these big changes can happen. And I remember I was in an interview the other week with the president of New York State Women's Inc., and I asked her, why, maternity leave and everything aside, why don't you think that there are enough women leaders in the government and in business? And she answered me quite bluntly, but it's quite honest. And she said, women don't have the balls. And I don't think that she meant that women aren't men, so they'll never be leaders. Of course not. She's the president of New York State Women's Inc. She meant that women don't have enough confidence. And it's so true. I see it all the time. I've noticed it since middle school and throughout high school. Whenever the teacher asks for a volunteering class, more often than not, I've noticed that it's the boys who raise their hands and the girls who lean back and don't participate. It's the boys who are more comfortable shouting out in class. It's the girls who are typically more reserved. And whenever I go to the bathroom in high school, I almost always see a group of girls in front of the bathroom mirror caking makeup onto their faces, maybe joking about how ugly they are without makeup, or I often hear girls talk about how insecure they are about their bodies, even though they're beautiful just as they are. They're flawless, as Beyonce would say. And I've noticed that a lot of my friends who are girls will often question their capabilities and joke about, oh, I'm so stupid, even if they're incredibly intelligent. And as a matter of fact, no woman is going to be elected if she doesn't have the confidence to raise her hand in class, or if she's constantly questioning if she's good enough. So I know it may seem a little bit far-fetched to just say women need to be more confident because, ow. Well, let me tell you that I'm not on this stage because I'm naturally confident. I'm on this stage because I've lied to myself. And if you're watching this video and if you feel that you don't have the confidence to be a leader, fake it until you become it. Lie to yourself and tell yourself that I'm amazing, I'm beautiful, I have so much potential, and I am confident. I have the potential to be a leader. And you may feel like you're lying to yourself at first, but eventually you'll be so convinced that you will be confident. You will have the confidence to become a leader. We need to have more girls lie to themselves and say, I'm confident, so that more women can be leaders and so that their voices can be heard in governments. And even if you don't want to go into government, we need to have people speak out about gender inequality. This is what I'm doing on the stage. I'm bringing awareness about gender inequality, and I'm hoping that you can do the same. Because gender inequality is unfair. It's unfair how millions of girls don't feel that their human rights are being protected. It's unfair how our society pushes our boys more to be successful and competitive in academics and in their careers. And we push our boys to be strong and to not show emotion. And we tell our girls to be weak, and we tell them to attain unattainable beauty standards, and we tell them to shrink themselves. It's not fair. It's not fair how our voices aren't being heard. It's not fair how oftentimes the girl is put for blame for rape. It's not fair how a woman who tries to be a leader is called bossy, whereas a man who tries to be a leader is, well, a good leader. It's not fair how women's voices and men's voices aren't being heard equally in governments and elsewhere. We need to open up conversations on gender inequality. This is an issue that can no longer be brushed under the rug or marginalized. We need to speak up about this issue to let our governments know that this is something that we care about. And if our government does make change, then we all need to be aware of the issue so that we can be open to making these changes. We all need to speak up about gender inequality. I want to end this talk on a high note. I believe that my generation will be the one to really push the boundaries and to really strive for gender equality. I think that my generation is one of the most progressive and forward-thinking so far, and I want to congratulate you on that. And I believe that I will eventually see a day when a majority of women will feel confident that their human rights are being protected, and a day when men's voices and women's voices will be heard equally. Thank you.